evening, everyone. Welcome to our weekly international pop chat. Our program is on every Friday, 9:30 p.m. at Malaysia time, and of course, in other countries, might be in the morning as well. And it happened in Facebook Live at IQI International Sales. I'm Mandy Chen, head of IQI International Sales, your host of today. On behalf of IQI Global, the Asia biggest real estate and investment agency, also a member of JUWAIIQI, I would like to thank everyone for supporting our program. Our sharing usually will feature some of the lifestyles, cultures, investment criteria, and requirements in the respective country around the group. So if you like our program, which you think that is benefiting you, do invite and share it with your friends. Should you have any comment and questions, feel free to leave it at the comment box and we will revert to you shortly. Today, we shall talk about a city called Melbourne. I'm sure everyone know where about and familiar with it. It's one of the cities in southeastern Australian state of Victoria. And Melbourne was crowned as one of the most livable city in the world for 7 consecutive years until 2017. In fact, this is one of my favorite city too. How about you? Okay, do comment if you like Melbourne. All right. So, well, without further delay, let me welcome my special guest today. Okay, and none other than Ernest. Okay, head of property advisory divisions of JUWAIIQI, to share with us his first impressions of Melbourne, Australia. Let's find out more about his story, why he chose to move to Melbourne, and how he ventured into this new directory. Okay, and hello, Ernest, how are you?
Hi, Mandy. Hi, good evening. How are you?
Good, well, okay, so maybe you can just have a brief introduction of yourself to the audience.
Sure. My name is Ernest, and I got to Melbourne about coming close to 9 months already, right just at the onset of the MCO in Malaysia, so to speak. So we managed to come over here because my spouse, my wife, was actually offered a position over here, which she took. So as a family, we came over here. So I do apologize for dressing up a little bit warmly today. I wish I was in the warmer weather, but Melbourne is actually in the middle of winter right now.
Okay.
But winter is not that cold. It's not the -0. It's about 12 Celsius right now. But with the wind chill, it can get down to about single digits. Over the last couple of days, there has been frost on the ground. So if you're driving the car early in the morning, that's a little bit more challenging because you need to scrape the ice off the windscreen, and also you got to be careful about the roads as well because it may be a bit icy. Other than that, it's a very interesting city. It's a very cosmopolitan city, and it's almost, if I were to say this, you can get almost anything you want in Melbourne. So from food to culture to lifestyle to cafes, shopping, it's all here. It's a one-stop shop, literally.
Yeah, and in fact, it's no longer a Western country. You can find a lot of Asians, or even food-wise, you can find a lot of Asian food there as well.
One of the biggest challenges that we thought of was that, how are we going to get our spices? How are we going to get our food that we are so used to in Malaysia? In fact, I remember telling my spouse, I'm going to miss my wonton mee. I'm going to miss my Hokkien mee, so to speak. But over here, there's choice. There's so many choices. There's so many places as well. And at the end of the day, you have different types of Asian cuisine. You also have different types of sub-Asian cuisine as well. So very, very niche Asian cuisine as well. And if you are a foodie, there's so much to try. All it takes is just the effort to go and find out where they are. And there's everything over here is very digital. So you can actually go onto the Facebook pages and you can join the different groups. And a lot of conversation is about where's the best such and such a dish. And it's not just Asian food. It could be even Middle Eastern, Western, very, very interesting and unique, diverse culture over here.
Yeah,
so quite good.
Yeah, in fact, I miss the dim sum in the Chinatown. The best dim sum I ever had.
It's a very different, if you're used to the Malaysian style, so it's definitely very different. But at the same time, if you are open to different flavors and tastes, it's also very unique as well. At the end of the day, what I think I admire most and what I appreciate most is the selection of choice. That's a lot. Yeah. But of course, it also comes to the fact that if you convert ringgit to Aussie dollar, then it may be a bit challenging as well. But
Yeah,
if you do, don't convert, it's okay.
Don't ever convert. Or else everything will be expensive. If you don't convert, I still remember when I go to shopping at the grocery and looking at the fresh vegetable, it's like it's so cheap there. It's like $1. You can actually get one big bag of the vegetable, and perhaps it will probably last you for a week.
Well, let me give you something that's very interesting, Mandy. My wife and I, we spend a lot of time together in Malaysia doing grocery shopping. And it's kind of like our pastime. So I remember going to, I wouldn't use the word branded supermarkets in KL. If you were to fill up one grocery cart, it can come out to 400 or 500 ringgit. If you take 400 or 500 Aussie dollars, I think that's 3 or 4 grocery carts over here. It's difficult to spend $50. For the grocery cart will fill up very, very quickly. So it's very different in that sense. So cost of living wise, I think it's actually quite cost effective over here. If you actually cook for yourself, or if you actually are able to provide the meals for yourself. But if services, I would say, is a bit more expensive. So if you go out to eat, a typical meal would cost anywhere from $18 to $25 per person. But if you can cook, that same meal will probably cost around about 4, 5, the ingredients for it. But of course, you got to have the skill.
Okay. And I still remember if you were to compare a cup of coffee.
So one of the first investments I made was actually in an espresso machine. So I knew that I was going to be, I do want to give money to Starbucks. I spent too much in Malaysia already.
But surprisingly, the coffee there, I'm not too sure because of the weather or what. It smells so good and it tastes so good.
It's the coffee culture is very, very big over here. In fact, I was very surprised that if you want to be a barista, you cannot just go to a place and say, hey, I want to be a barista. You've got to take a program. You've got to get a certificate to be qualified as a barista. And it's actually something that I think is also quite beneficial, because you know that the people who are in those roles actually know what they're doing. And it's not just about the training only, but they actually have a certificate to back them up. So I was also very surprised. Plumbers, electricians, bricklayers, painters, they're all certified. They need to get a certificate. So you can't just say after school, I just want to become a painter. I just want to become a plumber. No, because everything you need to have insurance over here. So if you do some work for people and it doesn't turn out the way it's supposed to be, or if there's a fault in it, you are liable. Whereas in Malaysia, it's a bit challenging, you know. The plumber disappears after that. Say, hey, what happened?
And in fact, that they have to go through the proper course, and they do charge quite expensive per hour, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I was just recently telling my family back home, there's this place that just opened up in Melbourne for nasi kandar. So I had my normal nasi kandar, 25 Aussie dollars. Okay, 25 ringgit. 25 ringgit, okay lah, close to eyes lah. When you start multiplying it by 3, wow. Pricey. But what to do? After 8-9 months, no chance to eat. All of a sudden, you have this craving, you know. When I see nasi ganja being purchased in Malaysia using special transport, I say, okay, I better go try it.
So it's like super tasty?
Super tasty, but you know, it's a bit different, but what to do?
True.
But the thing that I miss most is actually durian.
Okay. I don't think you can find durian in Australia, right?
There are durians. Surprisingly, there is actually quite a lot of imports of durians from Malaysia and from Thailand. There's also durians from Darwin.
But it just tastes different, okay? Probably might not be the top grade.
No, the Musang Kings are at $39 per kilo over here.
Wow, that's expensive.
The D24s, I remember seeing for $24.99 per kilo.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. So a small box, 400 grams can be about $20, $25. Yeah. But again, you know, those I consider as luxuries. So if you come over here and you want to eat tropical country fruits, then it's expensive. But if you want to eat your apples, your oranges, your pears, quite inexpensive.
You talk about grapes and cherries. Wow,
quite inexpensive.
Yes. Okay.
Strawberries, I mean, you
Yep.
can get a pound of strawberries of 454 grams for $5. So back in Malaysia, that would be quite expensive. Strawberries, blueberries, quite expensive. But over here, they are the seasonal, quite inexpensive fruits.
Yeah, I still remember I always go to Victoria
Market.
markets to get all the fresh fruit. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's so cheap if you were to compare to Malaysia.
Then you need a big fridge, Mandy. If you buy a lot,
Yeah.
then you need a big fridge.
Okay, so
Yeah.
why don't you tell the audience is like in terms of your previous migration process, okay? Is it like difficult to apply as to compared to right now?
Well, again, we're here because of a professional visa. The professional visa is because of certain positions that are open for people with certain skills that the country requires. So my wife happens to be qualified for that. So I'm piggybacking over here because of her. And surprisingly, we were just talking just before the show started. Some of the skills that were in demand a couple of years ago have changed drastically. So, roles that they really are looking for right now would include engineering, tech, but the tech is more in the green sector. They really are focusing a lot on the green sector, the renewable energy sector, medical sector, even pharmaceutical sectors. They're really focusing on that. But social science skills like myself, like sales, marketing, that's a little bit limited in terms. You got to be really specialistic. There's also a big push for CEOs. They're looking for CEOs to come over here.
Oh,
So if you've
okay.
had a role of CEOs and you've managed to run corporations, MNCs, GLCs, or you've had a big company that you've run, they also are looking for talent like that. So keep a look up on I think the Australian, if you go to Google and search, there's actually a list of what they're looking for.
Yeah, and in fact, it changes every year. It depends on the, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely changes. And it also changes depending on which state, because it's not just one country per se, but different states need different things as well. But the process was actually fairly simple, and simple in the sense that, that's the form, that's the documents that they need, that's all that they want. No appeal letter, no phone call, no, you can't make a call and say, please, can you help? It doesn't work that way. You just make sure that it's all completed and it's all submitted on time.
So usually how long the process will take?
Well, I think, Mandy, you and I were communicating last year face to face before the lockdown, and after the lockdown was, phone calls and whatnot. For us, it was 2.5 months. And the opportunity to fly over here was in 3 days. So we got a call. 3 days later was the flight. So it was all pack up and go.
Wow, that is actually quite fast.
Very quick.
Yeah, very efficient. I mean, of course, it depends on the required field as well, because some of my friends, it actually took them a year to get it processed. Yeah, it all depends on the situations and the required field. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if, for instance, you have, if the post is actually vacant for some time, so there's a definite need for that, then they can expedite it. Our biggest challenge was not getting the documentation. The biggest challenge was actually getting the flight.
Yeah, because during that time, it's like the pandemics. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, but all in all, it actually was a fairly smooth process for us. The only thing that I would look back and I would say that the one that caused the most stress was how to pack up the house in 3 days.
And you didn't expect that quick, right?
I didn't expect it that quick. I still have food in the fridge. Let's put it that way. I still have fish in my tank.
Oh my God.
I was looking forward. I have some fruit trees in the house, and I have some nangka and cempedak trees, and they were starting to fruit already, and no chance for me. So my neighbors probably enjoyed it.
But there's no way for you to do extensions or whatsoever, given any reasons?
No, we could extend. It's just that there was no flight. So the only because of the flight, it was just pack up and go.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. If not, it could have been extended. Yeah.
Yeah, if you were to compare to other cities in Australia, I guess Melbourne, Sydney is probably kind of difficult when it comes to migrations in terms of the processes and approval. Of course, if you go further away, then probably it's easier. The rules are more loosened, okay? But because especially you talk about Melbourne, it's like the most demandable for the migrants to move in. So it's probably kind of difficult sometimes, okay, to some of the migrants.
You're absolutely right, because there is a distinction between rural and city.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are going to the city, then it's going to be more challenging because there's more competition for it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to go into a rural area,
Mm-hmm.
It's much more simpler. And if you're going to go and
Yeah.
set up a business in a rural area, they definitely welcome you.
Yeah, but is that a lot of people would rather live in a city first, right? Put it this way.
Yeah, because if you don't have much experience or not much knowledge, it's quite challenging. My wife has never been to Australia,
Mm-hmm.
so it was the first time over here, and I've only come here as for business, so
Mm-hmm.
it was not so much in terms of to live.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of staying in a rural area where friends of mine who have been here before say it's really, really big.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot imagine how big means.
Mm-hmm.
And you can sometimes drive for miles and you don't see anybody. That's how big rural is.
Okay.
And, you open the window and you see kangaroos for your neighbors. That's it. There's nothing else. And so, yeah, one needs to get away from the mindset whereby if you come from a city like in KL, everything is so close by. It's very crowded and congested. City life is like that, but if you want to go to a rural area, it's big. It's sometimes quite empty.
Okay, so it all depends on your adaptability in terms of
Absolutely.
new environment. So if you can take it, I mean, well, this is a new venture for you, but I guess a lot of people can't really take it and they miss home a lot.
True. And you know, the sad part about it is that if, for instance, the flights were normal, assuming there was no pandemic, then it's not so bad. It's only a 6-hour flight. But with the pandemic, it's a bit more challenging. And now Australia has a certain rule, from what I hear. If you want to leave the country, they have no problem. Just that you have to leave for a minimum of 3 months.
Oh, okay.
So if you go for 3 months and you come back, it's a lot of time that you may not necessarily have to facilitate that. Yeah. So whereas in the past, 1 week, 2 weeks, you can go and come back. Now it's a bit more challenging.
Okay. So when you talk about pandemic, what is the situation right now in Melbourne?
We just came out of a lockdown. About 2 weeks ago, we had a case whereby some people from Sydney who were infected, they drove across state and they infected a few people. So as a precaution, the government here in Victoria basically had a lockdown. We came out from lockdown a couple of days ago. What it means is that we can move around without. There's only 5 reasons to move around, same as in Malaysia, to buy food, to get health care and whatnot. Now you can move around, but you need to make sure that you are always masked up. So when I go to I see people exercising, running, using masks. I see people cycling using masks. So I'm like, wow, these guys are really dedicated to exercise. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so back to our main topics. Actually, everyone wants to know what is the first impressions of Melbourne. I mean, as compared to Malaysia in terms of the culture, lifestyle, working environments, and etc.
Well, I'm just going to use the word that you just said, Mandy. If you're adaptable and you're willing to start at whatever level, then you're able to then rebuild. Because those that come with the precondition that, I can only do this and that's the level I'm going to do it at, then I think that may be a challenge. Why do I say that? It's because it's a different culture, it's a different mindset, it's a different expectation. The way they work is very different. I remember back in Asia when they tell you in a letter of offer, work from 9 to 5. That's just a suggestion. That's just a suggestion.
Okay.
And when you leave at 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, people are still in the office.
Yep.
Over here, 9 to 5 is 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that they're less efficient. They're just more focused. And when they work, they really, really work. So when they leave on time, they really leave on time. And when you call them at 5:30, they don't answer the call. It's because they actually have a very strong sense of balance and lifestyle.
Yep.
So it's a very different mindset. So if you want to actually get into either a corporate career or if you want to do your own business, you have to understand the local market over here and the local way of how people think. But I still see a lot of Asian businesses. Yes, they work longer hours. They try to work in the lines that they are used to in that sense. But I find that a lot of neighbors that I have around the house, by if they work from 9 to 5, by 5:15 they're home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I still remember one of my friends that working in this Australian company, and in fact, she worked overtime, okay, and for a few days. So, but the immediate superior actually called her up and asked her, is there any problem with her? Why she stay in the office for so late and all this thing? In fact, they actually question you why you work overtime.
Well, that's one of the challenges, because they may think that you are inefficient.
Yep.
Or they think that you don't know your job.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the drawbacks.
Mm-hmm.
The other challenge is that if they were to do this, it means that they also don't give you enough support for you to do the job. So they're also very worried.
Yep.
That they are not living up to the end of the bargain.
Mm-hmm.
But the other part about it is that if you earn more money above a certain bracket, the taxes here are not low. The taxes here are quite high.
That's actually the one of the setback, right?
Yes. It's you got to balance it. At the end of the day, you have to balance it. The social services here are very good.
Mm-hmm.
They do provide quite a bit for the Australian PRs and the citizens.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, they have to finance it in a certain way. But again, if you work longer hours than normal, you would definitely, for too frequent, you would definitely attract a lot of attention to yourself.
Yep. And in fact, if you were to compare Malaysia and Australia, okay, so what is the so-called the differences that you like the best? I mean, in Australia.
I like the best?
Yeah.
Well, right now, in Malaysia, it's difficult for me. I had a big challenge to maintain my weight or to lose weight because the food was readily available. Over here, I have to cook it myself.
All right.
Yeah. No, but one of the things I like here is that I think environmentally, the air is clearer. So far, I've not seen haze. I've not seen a lot of smoke. Maybe I missed the fires of the summer, but at the end of the day, I noticed that when the trains run at certain time, they run at a certain time. They don't break down, or at least it's not as often that they're actually behind schedule. But one of the things I also appreciate most is that everything that you want to do over here is all listed online. And what they want is what they want.
Okay.
They say 3 forms is 3 forms. It's not 3 forms and a phone call.
Okay.
And if you call them up, they won't even answer. They just say follow up online. That's it.
So everything is, I would say, is very systematic.
Very clear, very transparent.
All right. Okay. So what about the weather? Okay. Do you actually get used to the weather? Because I remember during summer, I thought that it's summer. Okay. I went to Melbourne and I thought that it's summer. So I packed all my luggage full of all those summer clothing. Okay. But at the end, it's like I get caught. Middle of the day, I got to look for a shopping mall to look for a jacket.
Well, I think it's always prudent to carry a jacket, regardless of whatever the season is. The weather over here, we came, I think, in spring. No, probably summer, the tail end of summer. But the temperatures, I think the high temperatures were about 30, 35, but humidity was very low, so you don't feel very sticky and it doesn't feel that hot. So I guess the range is from 30 to the lowest and the coldest we've been experiencing is -1. But that's at the mountainside when we went to see snow. There is snow in Victoria. There's certain places that have snow. It's a tourist place where a lot of people go. So that was the only place that I got to below 0. But by and large, where I am, the coldest I've seen, other than the frost in the morning, which I know is 0, is 4 Celsius.
Okay.
That's quite cold. Yeah.
Okay.
But the winds are strong. Mandy?
Yeah, the winds
chilling. Are strong. So if you wear polyester, if you wear the knit that has quite wide, good luck. Good luck. Yeah. So if you want to buy stuff, buy your clothes. Malaysia also has them, but I think that if you come over here, there's a lot of places that you can also get it, and up to the fashion of what is current right now. So don't buy too much when you come over here, but come here and buy.
Yeah.
That's probably my advice.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So since you moved to Melbourne for 9 months, actually, how long does it take for you to adapt into this new environment?
Adapt. I think I'm still learning. It's always a process of learning. Most of the cuisine that we are when we go out to eat, most of the time it's still Asian cuisine. When we do go and eat Western cuisine or non-Asian cuisine, it's because either we are entertaining people or we are being entertained. In terms of the community that we are connected with, the neighbors, they are very, very friendly. This is the in Malaysia, when we move to a new neighborhood, people don't usually come to your house and knock and say, hi, how are you? But
and welcome you with probably with some desserts and cakes.
Yeah, cookies and
right?
cakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that happened to us when we moved. But it also happened to me when I was much younger in Malaysia, but I didn't live in a city, I lived in a village. And when you move into a village, everybody needs to know who you are. So I always got scared because my father said, when he goes to work, even though he goes to work, the neighbors will tell him what I did not at home. So I was like, wow. But over here, it's very community based. So they always ask who you are, what you're doing, how you are. So I think that's quite good. The sense of community is strong. And then you just have to get used to their way of life and their culture. And then that will make it work. I was also very surprised. Part of the essential services was actually bottle shops. Do you know what bottle shops are?
Yep.
Shops that sell alcohol.
Yep.
I was very surprised. Wow, that's essential. Okay. It's quite
to keep your
interesting.
body warm.
Yes. Yeah, so that was interesting. But if you have kids and you're thinking of starting a family over, if you're bringing your kids over, I think the kids usually will adapt much better because they're more open. But it also depends on how the family structure is. If you are actually able to embrace change and look at it from a perspective of, okay, this is a new transition. What do you plan to do and how are you going to do it? I think that would work much better in your favor.
Okay, so in terms of education, since you are talking about this, is it easier to get to enroll your kids to the schools that probably nearby your area, or you can actually go to any schools that you want to?
In Malaysia, the difference is that you have to go to the school closest to your address. Over here is it depends on your budget. It depends also on what you want your child to be immersed in. There are government schools, there are semi-government schools, there's also Christian schools. So the choice is yours. But if you're not a PR or a citizen, there are different rates that are applied to it. Yeah. So that's the only difference. Then the other difference is that, the kids over here, the uniforms are a little bit more elaborate compared to the people in Malaysia.
Yeah, I think different schools have different type of uniform. It's not standardized.
Yes, I used to go to Tesco and buy uniforms for the kids from 1 to Form 5. No, this one you got to go tailor. It's like, wow, serious tailors. Yeah, so that's a bit different. And when you buy the kids the uniforms and you look at the price after you convert, it's like, wow, that's like how many suits you're making, how many suits at home.
Yeah, like I said, don't convert, right?
Don't convert. Absolutely right. And one of the interesting things is that if you send your kid to, say, a private school, even the school bag has to be from the school shop. You cannot buy any bag. You cannot carry any other bag, but you got to carry the school bag. Like, wow. So
but I always hear that a lot of Asians that who move to Australia, right? They always want to find the best school or the top school for their kids. Have you heard of this before?
Yeah, I have heard of this. In fact, it was also part of our efforts over here to find out what was best and whatnot. But after enrolling our son to the school here, I realized that the education system is very different, extremely different. And it's not rote learning, it's not memorization. There is a lot more emphasis on experiential learning. It's a lot more emphasis on self-discovery as well. And I was just helping my son out in terms of one of the projects that he's doing. I was very surprised because the questions that they're asking actually relates more towards self-reflection. How does this information that you're learning affect you, will impact your life? How do you see that impacting society?
Wow.
Like, wow. And at an age that I think even when I was going through Form 4, Form 5, even
Yeah, I don't
pre-uni,
think.
I don't even have that questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these are at primary school levels.
Wow. Okay.
Very
So
different. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. They actually wants to like cultivate the thinking, the
Yeah.
creativities. Yeah.
So I remember during the parent-teacher meeting, I remember asking the teacher, I said, what if he gets a question wrong? And the teacher said, it doesn't matter. The question that they are pursuing is, or the answer that they're pursuing is, can the child explain why he or she came up with the answer? Not so much of the answer itself, if they're able to defend the answer. So actually, which I thought was very different.
Yep. So in fact, do you have any like unusual kind of experience or any matters that you face during your transitions to Melbourne and when you settle down?
Well, I would not say they're unusual. I think that one of the things that I would definitely advise anybody if they're coming over here is that if they're looking towards mobility, unless you actually only have to depend on public transport, I would strongly suggest that you need to probably get your driver's license. The international driver's license is somewhat limited for Malaysian driver's license. Your Singaporean viewers will be very happy because the Singapore driver's license is recognized in Australia. You do not need to convert.
Oh, not for Malaysians license?
Malaysian license, you need to take the test again.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. So by having a driver's license, it helps you to be more mobile because if you actually have to depend on public transport, let's put it this way, even though the buses may be running efficiently, let's see, you want to wait outside at 9 Celsius for the bus to come, it's going to be pretty cold. Yeah, but Uber, there's no Grab here. There's Uber, there's Didi, there's Ola. That helps you get around as well. So, but you just need to pay for them.
Okay, but in fact, buying a car is not that expensive, right, in Australia? Yeah.
Mandy. Yeah, buying a car is not expensive.
Okay.
This is one of the other things I was very surprised with as well. In Malaysia, if you earn 5,000 ringgit, and if you wanted to drive, say, 80,000 ringgit car, you're looking at a 9-year loan. Here you earn 5,000 Aussie dollars. Cars are like 14,000.
Yep.
If that's a standard car, if you want to drive, let's see, I'm just picking one up. If you wanted to drive a Mazda 2 or Mazda 3 series, 20,000.
Wow.
That's a 3-year loan. Yeah, so it's a very different mindset. Motorcycles are expensive.
Oh, it's actually
motorcycles are expensive. Yeah.
Reverse.
Yeah, there was a motorcycle I was looking at, a Triumph Rocket, and that's like 60,000. I was like, wow, okay, that's a bit expensive.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you don't need to buy a brand new car. Second-hand cars are common and it's very inexpensive as well.
Yeah, but I still remember parking in CBD is killing you. I mean, in terms of the fees that you're going to pay.
Well, cars cheap, parking expensive.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I completely agree. I remember going one place and the parking turned out to be like $30. So if you don't convert, you close 2 eyes. If you convert, it's like, holy cow.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess there's a lot of people who like actually if they work in city, so perhaps they'll probably park their car in the train stations and they take a train to the city because in order to save the parking.
Well, it's not just to save the parking, it's also to save time because at the end of the day, the public transport within the city is actually very, very convenient. There is a no-fee tram zone. So if you're downtown CBD in Melbourne, you can actually hop on and hop off the tram for free. Once you only get out of the free tram zone, that's when you actually have to pay. Parking is difficult because there's not enough parking spaces and it's expensive.
Yes.
And there are things that I think in my entire driving experience in Malaysia, I've never experienced something called a hook turn. A hook turn is unique to Melbourne, whereby you can't just turn right.
Yep.
You actually have to wait on the left
to
turn right when the lights are red. So that's the unique part about driving. So if you're not used to that, then driving can be quite a scary experience. And in KL or in Malaysia, there's no trams to drive behind. So trams is different. And over here as well, you don't also have the motorcycles that weave in and weave out. If you're a motorcyclist, you have to pay very, very close attention to the rules. You have to follow them, essentially. The police here are a little bit more stringent.
What about the traffic compared to Malaysia?
Traffic here is stressful because when they say 60, it means 60. 62 gets you a ticket. No room for negotiation. You can't say speedometer broken. It is what it is. But at the same time as well, you know that everybody has to follow the rules. So they're very, very strict on that.
So even though you own a sport car, you probably can't speed.
It's a very expensive slow drive.
Yes. You can't even test the power of it.
Well, you can just put the power on without engaging the gear. Just hear the sound. They're very, very strict over here because road safety and road safety culture here is extremely strong. So they're very, very conscious about it.
Yeah, especially in the freeway, there's lots of cameras. So you probably can't like take a risk.
Well, cameras are not just to do speeding, but cameras also if you have the phone in your hand. If you have a phone in your hand when you're driving, that's just as bad a penalty as well because they are quite strict about that. I guess that distraction causes a lot of accidents as well, unwanted accidents. Drink driving is extremely strict over here. So as a driver, you very limited alcohol you can take. In fact, they prefer you not to drink. I think in my experience here over the last couple of months, I actually had to go through 2 breathalyzer tests. There was one coming off from a park. They stopped everybody. Everybody had to take a breathalyzer test. The second one was actually on a highway.
Oh, okay. I think safety is utmost importance.
And then, of course, you've got wildlife as well, because I've spoken to a few people who drove long distance. That means when you drive from Melbourne CBD going out to the country, if you drive at night,
that's very dangerous.
That's very dangerous because you've got kangaroos. They're not as cuddly as you may think they are. These can be quite big animals, and they can definitely pack quite a punch.
Okay, so another advice that probably need from you, do you usually, before you move to Australia, do you actually buy the property first, or you actually, when you reach Australia, then only you are looking for the properties?
Buying the property in Australia, that was proper. I mean, in hindsight, Mandy, I should have talked to you 7 years ago. I should have talked to you 7 years ago. Since I know what you've been doing since then already. Property prices here is crazy. It's high. If you do the conversion, it's crazy. But if you didn't do the conversion, okay, it's comparable. But at the end of the day, there is a lot of restrictions if you're non-PR and non-citizen. There's more that you have to pay in terms of taxes. And there's also a fee, a foreign buyer's fee. But prior to that, there was less restrictions. You could buy different things. Now you can only buy new. Under construction, whereas in the past you could also buy subsale. Of course, you know, they always say when is the best time to buy property was yesterday. But it's to look at it right now, today is tomorrow's yesterday. You shouldn't wait till tomorrow, then say, I should have bought yesterday. Today is tomorrow's yesterday. So if I were to look at what I've done, because we are not citizens, we cannot buy subsale. So we are looking brand new. So we are just now looking. And when I say now looking, is either we are looking at condos or we're looking at land and then build. Both are options as well. It also depends on how far we want to commute and what kind of lifestyle we want. Because CBD life can be quite restrictive in terms of what kind of lifestyle you want. But if you want to live in a house, then you have to be prepared to commute further because the Melbourne town area to buy a house,
it's very costly.
Crazy. It's crazy. And I've been to one open house. Opening price, I mean, it was under auction, public auction. And auction doesn't mean distressed property. It's not distressed. It's just the way how they sell it. Opening price, the fellow said, was 3.8. That's the first bid, 3.8. I said, thank you very much. No need to talk anymore. 3.8 is nearly what, 12 million, 13 million ringgit? And it's not, it's fancy, it's quite big. But wow, that's a lot of money. Yeah.
So your advice is like either you buy earlier, okay?
Yeah. Buy earlier, or you need to basically look for your lifestyle, what your lifestyle you want. If you're buying for your children to study, then how far is the university or the place of study to the location? How is your child going to get to the location is going to be important. Are you going to give the child a car, or are you just going to rely on public transport? But definitely you're looking at the security aspect, the convenience aspect, the amenity aspect. And I don't have to say, Mandy, you're one of the best that I know. That if you're wanting to look at Melbourne, you're one of the best that I know that knows the place.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so for those audience just log in, welcome to our international prop check. Okay, today we are talking about Melbourne. Okay, this beautiful cities where Ernest right now is living. Okay, feel free to ask any questions if you want to know a little bit more about Melbourne, or you're going to migrate to Melbourne soon. Okay, and you want to seek for some advice. Okay, feel free to ask right now. We will try to answer you. Okay. All right, so one last question from today. Okay, any advice from you for those new migrants that who wants or plans to move to Australia?
Be prepared. Be prepared of a change in gears. What I mean by that is that if you are operating in a manner where you're in your home country, you are very proficient. Coming over here to a new country, you need to be prepared to see things slightly differently. You may not be treated the same way as well. Your ideas may not be accepted the same way as well. You need to be adaptable. I think it's also just a matter of time before you understand their process, understand their mindset, and understand even how they speak, because the way we speak in Asia or in Malaysia is not so much the same. The lingo, the slangs are quite different over here. So if you are not able to adapt, you may have a difficulty in trying to understand that and understanding their lingo. Give you a quick example. A couple of years ago, I used to deal with somebody from Australia, my business in Malaysia. And this person used to call me grasshopper. And I was wondering, grasshopper? We call me grasshopper for what? And grasshopper, and I found out later on, was dozai, like small younger brother. I said, oh, okay, that's what it means, grasshopper. And similarly, when I hope it's not a cuss word, but they say, no, you bastard. You bastard is not a bad word. It's you're a good friend. Okay, so if you have a very, if your mindset and mentality is very fixated, it may be a challenge. So you need to understand that. And I think that life is quite fluid. If you just stick yourself to one track, it's going to be quite challenging. And I think that because the world is a global economy right now, and you have to go to where the opportunities are, what better way than to actually explore the world this way, where your talents are recognized everywhere and you can go anywhere, provided you're willing to learn. And build your wealth. I would say build your wealth. The other thing I would definitely say is don't just put all your eggs in one basket. Build your wealth in several currencies if you can.
So talking about this is like, do you have any like favorite hotspots in Melbourne that you personally like a lot when it comes to property investments or buying for own stays?
I love the area code 3000. But 3000 is CBD. The land price there is crazy. But there were some earlier buildings there that came out when I went in to take a look. Subsale wise, you can get it for 700 to 800,000, but that's like Bukit Bintang area, if you give the equivalent. 600, 700,000 for 800 square footer. That's not bad. And you're right in the middle of things. But if you're looking at, say, slightly wider spaces, Doncaster is pretty good.
A lot of Chinese and Malaysians staying there.
Yeah, a lot of Chinese and Malaysians staying there. Chadston area is very good. If you're willing to take a longer perspective, then outside the Melbourne area would probably be more interesting. So they're opening up new areas like Alton near the airport.
Yep.
They're opening up new areas like Lara as well and Corio. So these are transit. You need to probably take a train or drive 30 minutes to 40 minutes to get there. Werribee.
Yep.
These are all the smaller towns or areas that are now opening up. That's when I think you can get for 600,000, 700,000 for maybe 500 square meters. That's like 5,000 square feet. Land and building to actually build your house.
Yep. Okay. In fact, there's a question from the audience. Is it easy to get a job in Australia? I mean, this is kind of common questions, right? Every migrants that would love to know.
Yeah, it depends on what job that you are, what skill you have, what qualification you have. I would definitely say it's a skill and qualification. And it also depends on whether you have track record. That would really help as well. For me, I've seen friends who've gotten degrees, very unique degrees. There's one person I know who's a geospatial engineer. And when he came over here, he had a problem finding a job because geospatial engineers over here, it's not like in Malaysia where you need a lot. Here they have one who's certified and many who just take instruction. That means with certificate, but not the signing authority. So this guy had the signing authority, but he was too high up.
Okay.
So he had to wait for a while. And what happened is that he's actually now moved to a different industry altogether. And he's finding that that's also something that he likes to do. So if you're open, then you definitely can look at it. Getting a job over here. There's actually a shortage of workers. I'm surprised actually they're constantly looking for waitresses, and actually the pay is actually quite good. The minimum wage I think is $15 an hour over here.
Yes, in fact, wow, it's like compared to Malaysia, it's like no way.
Yeah, I remember seeing in KFC in Malaysia, it's like $5.45 per hour. Yeah. So it's just different. It's a question of managing your money and getting your foothold. I think once you get your foothold, then you're able to then stabilize yourself and then look where you want to go and move to next. And it may mean going back to school again. It may mean taking up another skill. I see that a lot of social work is very well paid, and there are very few people going in. So if you're doing social work, mental science, mental health sciences, I think there's avenues in that as well. And of course, communication. You really need to be able to communicate very well because you need to get a very high passing mark for your IELTS in order to get access here.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I'm sure all the audience have benefit a lot. So imagine if you were thinking of migrate to Australia or you are thinking of investments, the best time to invest is always yesterday because I think last week I read an article, in fact, the updates from Australia's real estate articles. It was mentioned that Australia properties, in fact, in Melbourne, has been increased like 20%. So even with these situations, okay, with pandemic, so home is probably one of the must to everyone. And government actually giving a lot of incentive for the local first home buyers to actually buy their first home. So local demand is actually doing very well. And in fact, I've been talking to some of the developers, okay, and some of the agents' friends as well. They say that they are very busy, okay, and the turnover is actually very fast, okay. So for those who's really thinking of buying a home or investing in Australia, please do not hesitate to contact us, or you can always go to our website, www.iqiglobal.com, to find out more information or any projects that you like, and contact us accordingly. Okay, so if you miss any of our episode, okay, feel free to watch the replay at Facebook or YouTube at IQI International Sales. Okay, and don't forget to join us same time next week for another interesting topic. Once again, thank you, Ernest, for your awesome sharing. Should you have any questions for Ernest or for myself, feel free to leave it in the comment box. We will try to answer it later. All right. So do give us a support and likes if you love our program. Okay. Invite all your friends to join us. And meanwhile, do stay strong and stay safe during this pandemic. Take care, everyone. Okay, I'm Mandy signing off now. Bye-bye. Good night,
Bye.
everyone.